The Senate and House of Representatives seems to be at loggerhead over the domiciliation of Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit despite the looming threat of Nigerian expulsion from the Edmond Group. The bill to grant financial and operational autonomy to the unit, which has been passed by both legislative chambers, is before the Conference Committee of the National Assembly, which is required to harmonize discrepancies in both versions of the legislation. Chairman Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crime, Chukwuka Utazi, raising a point of order, informed the Senate that his colleague in the House of Representatives has refused to honor scheduled meetings, therefore seeking the intervention of the President of the Senate in the matter. Senator Utazi blamed the delay in the transmission on the instance of the House Committee to domicile the unit with the EFCC.
Mr. President, you may remember that in the meeting of Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units in Mako in July last year, Nigeria was suspended with a further threat of expulsion if by March, before the next meeting of the Egmont Group, which is coming up on the 11th of March, which is next week, that if we couldn't put a house in order, that would be finally expelled. The Senate, having understood me, followed me when I came with my bill. Now, Mr. President, we have passed, and this bill has been passed in the House of and the Senate here. The House of Reps took time to pass it, but now the Conference Committee has been consulted. I have been calling my colleague in the House of Reps to come for the meeting. The first one was told, and they said the leadership was meeting on this issue. The leadership met and concluded. And we came for the meeting, we called for the meeting. First and second time, each time I called for this meeting, my counterpart in the House of Reps will always tell me he's attending one meeting or the other. And I want to say that if anything happens, if by next week, 11th of March, the Egmont Group decides to expel Nigeria, it will not be as a result of the Senate of Republic not doing their duty.
President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, in his ruling, said he will meet with the Speaker of the House of Representatives to sort out the matter.
Bear in mind, we have to manage. We cannot wait indefinitely. I agree with you, and we just have to put a timeline to when this is done. Secondly, also the parastatals that we directed to submit their budget, as we all know, it's our intention this year to pass the general budget along with the parastatals budget, and as such, parastatals as well should ensure that they do not also cause any delay, because we're not going to pass the general budget without the budget of the parastatals, because we gave them a deadline also for the parastatals to make sure that they've submitted their budget.
It will recall that Edmond Group, July last year, suspended Nigeria for reasons related to financial intelligence, mandating the Nigerian government to make NFIU autonomous in the funding operation and management of intelligence. Muyiwa Bamdele reporting. The National Assembly has received resolution reached on the amendment of Nigerian Constitution by the Conference of Speakers of State of Houses of Assembly. Chairman Conference of Speakers and Speaker Kebbi State House of Assembly, Honorable Abdulmuminu Ismaila Kamba, handed over the resolution of the Constitution amendment to the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives at a brief event at National Assembly, Abuja. Reacting to the resolution, principal officers from the both state and federal assembly faulted decision of both sides to vote out clauses on devolution of power as well as local government autonomy.
The Constitution is amended in the line with the yearnings and aspirations of the people. Your Excellency, while we believe every proposed amendment transmitted to the state Houses of Assembly by the National Assembly for ratification reflects the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. The voting out of the bill on devolution of powers by the National Assembly, which was part of the original work taken by this assembly has been strongly condemned.
And if democracy does not work well at the state level, it's like most of our people, the overwhelming majority of Nigerians will be shortchanged in terms of delivering the promise of democracy to them, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I can say that I'm a bit disappointed, because I thought with the courage demonstrated by these highly skilled legislators, some of whom are seated before us, we will have delivered the longly awaited local government autonomy. But unfortunately, maybe our courage didn't go that far. But you see, the truth is that courage is not really the absence of fear, but it is acting in spite of your fears.
In his remark, President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, while commending the state legislatures for effort expended on the process, frowned at the non-participation of Rivers and Lagos State Assembly in the exercise.
Let me also at this point commend those of you of the 34 states. I must express my disappointment, because I thought this exercise will have ensured that all states will have participated fully. The non-participation of Lagos and Rivers is disappointing, and I do hope as we move ahead that Lagos and Rivers will take a different approach, because this is all in the interest of what the interest of the country. As I always say about constitutional amendment, it is not something you can bully me or I can bully you. It is by dialogue and by discussion, by putting Nigeria first, that matters. We might be disappointed in certain things. It is a process. We must keep on doing it to get to the right destination. And I'm confident with the kind of commitment you've shown and what our colleagues have shown on this side, and the kind of working relationship that we have come together to do this. I'm very confident that the other efforts that we need to do ahead of us will be able to succeed.
To this end, the lawmaker gave assurance that the area earlier shut down in the just concluded alteration process will be revisited. Meanwhile, expectations are high that President Muhammadu Buhari will expedite action on assenting on the amendment constitution when it is finally forwarded to presidency. From National Assembly Complex, Abuja, Muyiwa Bamdele reporting.
The Executive Secretary, Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, Reverend Tor Uja, has said that for Africa to overcome the recent form of colonialism currently experienced in the continent, she must come together to form a common identity in currency and trade to remove the overbearing influence of Western civilization. Reverend Uja was speaking during a welcome ceremony organized in honor of a 7-man delegation from Ghana's Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, led by Samuel Kofi Jamezi, who are in Nigeria to understudy the Pilgrims Commission on how best to organize Christian pilgrimages to the Holy Land.
We need to build an economy that links African nations more closely than we are linked to the other parts of the world. I'm sure you know that most, if not all African nations, they are closer in their lifestyle, in their trade, in their activities with foreign countries than with African countries. This is a negative index. One of the things that the colonial heritage used to link us to their country is an economy known in the currency, the dollar, the pound, so on. I think the time has come for Africa to create its own currency, the Afro, that will link African nations together and will encourage people to invest in other African countries, and that let Africa's money circulate in Africa first, and let only peanuts evaporate into the other parts of the world. Africa needs its resources not just to build the continent, but to enable the rest of the world to benefit from what is going on in this continent on the continent.
Speaking on the need for Africans to believe in Africa, Reverend Uja said African leaders should create purposeful leadership that will eliminate the migration pattern from Africa to other parts of the world.
I think two things that we need in Africa is, first of all, to enable Africans to believe in Africa. There is something wrong that Africans believe in Europe and America, but have a suspicion or even a disbelief in Africa. I've not seen anybody steal his country's money and keep it in Ghana or in Ethiopia or in Kenya. I've not seen anybody who carried billions of dollars and took it even to South Africa, or made it available for us to use for loans to rebuild our poverty. But once somebody has a chance and carries dollars, you'll find it in Sweden, in London, in America, and in different parts of the world. This is an announcement of a lack of confidence in the continent. But I want to let us know that Africa is not just a vibrant continent. Africa is the only continent with a future.
On his part, Ghana's Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Samuel Kofi Jamezi, said the 3-day working visit was conceived by his ministry to overcome some challenges that the ministry faced in our first attempt to organize Christian pilgrimages.
Last year, we did our best to start with a pilot program to go to the state of Israel. And I can assure you, there were so many problems and challenges. In fact, when we came back and I met my directors, we were able to count 114 challenges. It simply means that it's not an easy task at all. But then, I have been going to Israel many times because I have a home there, and Israel is like my second home. And many times when I go to Ben Gurion, I see a lot of tourists coming from Nigeria. They come and go, they come and go. So at a meeting with our committee, which is now in charge of pilgrimage, I told them that there was the necessity to come to Nigeria to visit NCPC so that we can learn from you, we can share ideas with you, because it seems to me, and I believe so, that the numerous challenges that we are having in Ghana, you have solved at least 90% of that. Going out to learn a little more or more about pilgrimage, we do not have to travel all the way to Europe or America or anywhere. We just have to go to our next door neighbors and learn this from you.
He therefore used the medium to emphasize the need for African countries to synergize for a better continent. From Abuja, I am Festus Ejiroga Nefifen for Ben Television.
Lovely place, right?
Yes.
What's wrong? You don't look happy.
Take a look around. Why can't my hotel be like this?
I knew something was wrong, but I've got solution.
Solution? What?
Nanet.
Nanet?
Nanet offers you design solutions, building plans and construction, furnishing and equipping, financing, management, audit services, and many more services for a better hospitality business. Nanet, service with a smile.
Senator Dino Melai has been granted bail to the tune of 100,000 naira in the lawsuit filed against him by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice for giving false information on an assassination attempt on his life in April 2017. In the two-count charge, Melai was accused of falsely incriminating the Chief of Staff to the Governor, Yaya Bello of Kogi State, Mr. Edward Onoja David, in the said assassination attempt on 15 April 2017. The senator representing Kogi West gave not guilty plea to the charge, which are punishable under Section 140 and 393 of the Penal Code Cap 89 Law of Northern Nigeria, 1963. Shortly after his plea, his lawyer, Ricky Tafa Sam, moved for his bail application. The bail application was opposed by the prosecuting counsel, Shuaibu Labaran. But in a bench ruling, the judge, Justice Olatubosun Goodluck, granted the bail to the defendant after dismissing the prosecution opposition on the ground of inadmissible affidavit. The judge granted bail to the defendant in the sum of 100,000, with one surety who must be a federal civil servant of at least grade level 14 in any federal parastatus or establishment with the proof of being resident in the FCT.
Of the defendant was taken. We also moved his application for bail. The bail was granted. You've all heard the terms. One surety, civil servant of level 14, bond of 100,000. We picked holes with their opposition of the application for bail, that they were not competent, and the court upheld most of our objection on those points.
Thank you. Thanks so much. On account of giving false information regarding the persons responsible for his purported attack on his residence sometimes in April. And as prosecutors, we look at the merits of the case, and we've crossed all the T's and dotted the I's, and we've come up with the charge. And it may interest you to note that the court granted the defendant bail, which is normal because we are prosecutors, not prosecutors. And of course, we are interested in seeing that we have a sane society. And therefore, we are not looking at the magnitude of the offense. But once there is an offense established, the law is no respecter of your height, your status.
And the defendant had rather hilarious take on the outcome of the lawsuit.
I was already prepared. I was already prepared to go to prison. I have my tissue paper. I have my toothpaste. I have my brush. I also bought a bottle of Coke in case there's no Coke there. But justice shall prevail.
The key side attraction to the court hearing is the large number of fellow senators present and the army of supporters around the FCT High Court premises. Meanwhile, the hearing of the case had been adjourned 16 and 17 of May 2018.
Emir of Bogu Kingdom, Alhaji Muhammad Haliru Dantoro, has announced that the Bogu Kingdom will mark the Golden Jubilee anniversary of the landmark relocation from Old Busa to New Busa in April. He made the announcement in Abuja at a press briefing on the New Busa at 50 Celebration Investment Expo and Trade Fair 2018. The Managing Director of Innovative City Planners, Andrew Abba, who read the Emir's speech, recalled that in the late 1960s, as a major component of Nigeria's technological and industrial aspirations, the impoundment of vast tracts of Bogu territory to make way for the Kanji Lake Dam and power stations led to the establishment of New Busa Township.
Half a century later, the legacies of the watershed, historical landmark for Bogu Kingdom, Niger State, the nation at large, are indeed far-reaching and worth celebrating. Such legacies are born in the fields of hydropower technology, issues of hyperdeck, development of Nigerian fisheries, resources resources the imperative of unity in diversity, class tourism development, cross-border cooperation, and collaboration and securing the nation's strategic national security installation, among others. It is therefore the intention of the people of Borogu Kingdom to mark the Golden Jubilee anniversary of this landmark relocation from our ancestral and ancient abode, Old Busa, to New Busa.
Giving a brief history of the Borogu people, Alhaji Damisa Mohammed, one of the Emirate councillors, took time to explain the comparative business advantage of the new Borogu people to the diversification drive of the present administration.
The Busa people who moved from the first Busa to the second Busa in 1922 were also moved in 1968 to another Busa, which referred to as the New Busa. And at that time, because of the construction of the dam, and the entire old Busa was inundated under the river, so we were forced to move down to New Busa. And as of today, we are just realizing that we are sitting on a gold mine, because our movement to New Busa, after 50 years, have now proved to us that even the presence of several federal establishments in Busa is a blessing to the people, and that needs to be celebrated. When we talk of the kingdom, we are referring to Borogu in Kebbi State, Borogu in Kwara State, Borogu in the Republic of Benin, and then our relatives, the Yorubas, and others that have migrated along with us. The Kishi people, Oyo people, and so many other people in the north that are related to us will come and show their culture, their rich culture. And you will also enjoy our hospitality. It's not only mining that you can do, it's told you that there's fisheries, there's agriculture, and you have opportunities to move your products through the road by water or by air, because we have everything you need to move these things in Busa.
According to him, it is therefore the intention of the Borogu Kingdom to mark the Golden Jubilee anniversary of this landmark relocation from their ancestral abode, Old Busa, from Abuja. And Festus Ejirog and Efifen for Ben Television.
President Muhammadu Buhari has joined members of Redeemed Christian Church of God, Christian in Nigeria and many other parts of the world in congratulating General Overseer of the RCCG, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, on his 76th birthday. Adeboye clocked 76 on Friday. In a statement by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, President extended felicitation to the family and friends of the pastor. He noted that under Adeboye's leadership since 1981, the RCCG has grown to become one of the largest congregations in the world, with parishes in almost all the countries. The president affirmed that the exemplary leadership provided by the pastor has resulted in an exponential growth of the church, which directly translates into development of infrastructure, building of educational and health institutions, as well as vocational centers that have created a means of livelihood for many Nigerians. The statement read, President Buhari commended Pastor Adeboye's warm and friendliness, recalling his visit to the State House and most significantly, the historic visit in London when he was on medical vacation. President Buhari believed Pastor Adeboye has planted seed of the gospel that posterity will always remember, especially his divinely inspired dreams of ensuring that there will be a church within every walking distance in the country.